Here are the top 10 best PS4 games of all time.
To the edge. Here in the valley.
Moving from an FPS game that Sony once considered a competitor to Halo but ended up being less popular than expected, Guerrilla Games' decision to create Horizon Zero Dawn was one of the best decisions they ever made. Its main appeal lies in its super cool premise and world design that no other game had offered before, where a post-apocalyptic world is now inhabited by various sizes of robotic animals with mysterious purposes. Starting with Just a Bow, the game features cool and challenging action, and Horizon Zero Dawn also excels in world building with its diverse tribes and cultures. Although it doesn't often win awards, it is one of the most enjoyable new IPs Sony has ever released.
You're Spider-Man. Look, next time, leave the fighting to the pros.
Owning one of the most famous superhero IPs and not exploring it further? That's definitely not a smart business decision. Fortunately, Sony has a first-party studio that seems to understand exactly what to do with this web-slinging hero. Insomniac Games stepped in to bring the essence of many past Marvel's Spider-Man games into the modern era. They infused it with an emotional story from both Spider-Man and Peter Parker's perspectives, ensured the web-swinging action felt immersive, and combined it with exciting combat. These elements worked fantastically together, and it's no surprise that this title remains Sony's best-selling first-party studio game in the PlayStation 4 era.
I swore to protect this island with my life. Never once betraying my code.
When Sucker Punch first announced the arrival of Ghost of Tsushima through its captivating debut trailer, there were indeed concerns. How could a Western developer unfamiliar with Japanese culture capture the essence of a samurai's life, fighting to protect his island from Mongol invaders? Fortunately, Sony Japan's active role as a place for discussion and exchange of ideas dispelled those doubts. It didn't just end up as another exciting open-world action game with familiar elements. It became one of the most beautiful open-world games you can find on the PlayStation 4. There's a reason why a game that initially sparked controversy in the West over fears of cultural appropriation ended up being one of the Western games cherished and appreciated by Japanese gamers.
More than a nation, a symbol of freedom and hope. We could bring it all back if we kept on making deliveries and connecting people. He was sure of it.
Which gamers' heart and curiosity wouldn't be ablaze after Kojima's departure from Konami led him to create his debut game for the PlayStation 4. Teasers were continuously shared to introduce its world and gameplay, which only intensified curiosity rather than answering it. The end result: a game with mechanics, systems, and a unique experience unlike any other. While it ended up being a product not enjoyed by all gamers, Kojima's daring efforts with it are truly deserving of appreciation. In our eyes, this remains one of the boldest, most unique, and most experimental games ever offered by Sony. The controversy over the disagreement about the story presented by Naughty Dog in this game did indeed surface. However, those who disagreed with the story, especially with the extra hatred offered, ironically became an indirect testimony that the story ended successfully. Naughty Dog succeeded in creating beloved characters, a story about hatred that truly managed to trigger hatred among some groups of gamers, and ultimately, thick and dark human stories that became the star in this zombie world. All of this combined with fantastic technical aspects, both visually and in terms of physics, that in the PlayStation 4 era alone felt like a next-gen game. Santa Monica once again offers an action game with a fixed camera, featuring a Greek god who enjoys intercourse, and killing is no longer relevant. They needed a game that matured alongside its gamers. The result? A sequel to the story and a reboot of almost all elements that felt like a big gamble, but ended successfully. We're talking about changes in camera, the difference in Kratos' personality, who now stands out as a father, changes to more RPG gameplay, and exploring new mythology. This is a crazy step.
So that thing, that's a whisper too, huh?
Looks a lot more like an arbiter of fate than the others.
We can beat them.
There is no surer recipe for failure for developers and publishers than attempting to remake their legendary games and change everything related to them in the era of modern platforms. This nearly impossible task was successfully accomplished by Square Enix with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which we find quite stunning. It not only involves the modernization process in terms of gameplay, but also serves as an extra medium to explore so many aspects that couldn't be well explored in the past, especially for its iconic characters. We can see how humorous Aerith is, how vulnerable Barrett is in many situations, how emotional Tifa is, and the variety of conflicts Cloud must endure. What's more cool? Instead of just following the original series, it also adds many cool scenes and even extra plot points that make it even more mysterious. Despite many media and gamers disliking this game due to how unresponsive Trico is, we see it as a realistic representation of an animal as it should be. Combined with clever and touching puzzles, The Last Guardian still holds the most realistic and subtle animal animations of all time in our eyes. It's unimaginable what would happen if Sony brought this game to PlayStation 5 with various improvements. Placing a remake game in the second best position? There may be two responses accompanying our personal choice. Those who have experienced Shadow of the Colossus remake would agree, while those unfamiliar might be in opposition. We're talking about a game that was already positioned as one of the best PlayStation 2 games and has now undergone a modernization process that is so deserving. The remake process, with rebuilt visuals using a new engine, has successfully made its atmosphere much richer and cooler, while on the other hand, ensuring its gameplay remains faithful to the original series. Imagine a remake process that allows a game that was already too cool in your eyes to have the space and opportunity to become even cooler. This game is also what brought Bluepoint Games onto many people's radars and touted them as experts in remake and remaster projects. Choosing which game deserves the title of the best among the best for PlayStation 4 is not an easy task. However, for those who have tasted it and deeply immersed themselves, there is no more rational choice than Bloodborne. It excels fantastically in almost every aspect, from its stunning gothic world building, chilling monster and enemy designs, evocative music, challenging combat with aggressive Souls-like mechanics, great expansions, and various secrets waiting to be uncovered. These reasons justify why Bloodborne deserves the top spot on our list. We also hold great hope that Sony will find a way to bring this name back into the more modern era. 10 PlayStation 4 games that we believe deserve the title of the best among the best. The existence of these 10 games also seems to serve as testimony and confirmation that the PlayStation 4 is indeed one of the best gaming ecosystems ever offered by Sony, especially with the variety of new IPs it introduced through software. Coupled with numerous injections from both first-party and third-party developers that are above average, which of course we cannot list all here, it becomes an undeniable fact. So, what about you? Which game do you consider the best among the best?